YouTube. What's going on, fellas? It's Ferocious Mgtow back at you again. I keep saying it. I'm gonna just turn this sucker on when I'm doing my drives and just talk to you guys, because my 54 years on this planet, I've seen a lot, and I'm sure a lot of guys can benefit from my story. Take from it what you will, and things that don't apply, let it fly. But anyway, I'm thinking about talking about, since I see this real popular boy police officers, feminist police officers. So let me tell you the other story that I have. Now keep in mind, I was a street dude. And so when you're a street guy, you're gonna have run-ins with the police, and more than likely, you're gonna probably end up in jail. So I do have a background, and I'm proud of it because it made me a man. You know, I went in around 17, 18, and got out around 26, 27. But it made me a man because I had no father in the home, because of course my drunk mother basically run away any good, decent, you know, intelligent man. She would run him off with her drinking. She was an attractive lady, but once she get that what we call ignorant oil in them, or liquid courage, she would want to fight him and cuss him out, accuse him of having sex with other women, you know, all the dumb shit. So no decent, you know, good guy would hang around, even though I was praying. I used to pray that one of them would hang around so I could have somebody to, you know, kind of guide me in the right direction. But of course it never happened. So I'm pretty happy that I did go to jail when I did go, because I was around grown guys. I gravitated to more of the senior men in prison, and they took a liking to me, and they helped educate me, and because of that, I became a man. So I'm grateful to those brothers. So shout out to those brothers. They know who they are, you know. But anyway, let me get into the story. So that's a little bit about my background. We're gonna get more into it because there's a lot of lessons I learned while I was in there. I'm sure a lot of guys will be able to appreciate some of the lessons that I learned. So we're gonna start this story off at me being married to my second wife. When I met her, at the time, I was a real estate broker, and you know, I would buy houses, I would sell houses, I would sell houses to people, I would help them sell their house, I would, you know, sell them houses. So I bought a 15-unit apartment building from a lady, older lady. Her husband had passed away, and he pretty much did everything with the building. And so when he passed away, she didn't have any knowledge of real estate and these things and property management, so she just wanted to sell. So of course I happened to be at the right place at the right time. I bought the building for maybe $100,000 below market. So I mean $100,000 instant equity. So when my attorney gave me the letter to take around to all the tenants in the building once the building closed, to basically let them know that I purchased the building, I'm the new landlord, and for them to pay all future rents to me. So I'm taking the letter around to all the tenants in the building. So I knock on this one door, I got the little rent roll in my hand, and this cute, big booty, just cutie pie answered the door. I'm like, oh my God, I see right now there's gonna be a problem. So I hand her the letter, and she doesn't believe that it's true. And I'm like, why would you believe it's true? Why else would I be knocking on your door? So we get into a little heated debate about, am I the owner? And I said, well, and she said, well, I'm friends with the owner, the lady, so I'm gonna call her to make sure this is legitimate. I said, okay, you call whoever you want. You just better have that check ready on the 1st, made out to me. So I doubled back on the 1st. And by that time, lo and behold, she did call and talk to the lady, and the lady told her, yeah, is he a young guy? Because at the time, I think I was 30 something. It had to be about, yeah, I was in my 30s already, probably like 36, somewhere in there, 35, somewhere in there when I bought this building. What was I? So, no, I was like, yeah, I was like in my 30s. I was definitely in my 30s. Early 30s, put it like that. So, when I came to pick up the rent, I picked it up, no problem. She apologized for the confusion. And so I went on about my business. So I guess this gave her time to like watch me or whatever, because I took an apartment in the side of the building. So I lived in the building too. So I guess she would see my car. I had a really nice car. I had a convertible Eldorado, a pearl white with a beige top. So, you know, of course, I was the only one that had one of these at that time in that area. So when it came time for me to go back the second month to collect the rent, when I came to the door, I mean, it's like, I guess she must have been, you know, planning this, because she had her makeup done and her hair was done, and she had on the little, it was summertime, so she had on a little red kind of like spandex dress. I'm just like, oh my God. Food was cooking, it was smelling good. And so I'm like, man, you got it going on in here, right? Because she let me in the apartment, so I'm standing right there. You know, we shut the door, and I'm standing right there by the door. And she was like, let me get my checkbook and let me make the check out. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm standing waiting. I'm like, man, it smells good up in here. And she was like, well, you're more than welcome to stay if you want a plate. In my mind, I knew I should have said no, but of course, my dumb self said, yeah. So I stayed for the plate. I got the check. She finished cooking. I'm sitting in the living room. She finished cooking. She made the plate. She brought it to me. Man, I mean, I can't remember what it was, but whatever it was delicious. It was so good to when I got done, I fell asleep on the couch. I woke up with her next to me, with her head on my shoulder. I'm like, it's like this was a dream or something. So she wakes up because she knows, she guess she feels me moving or whatever. We look at each other with that weird look, like, you know. And next thing you know, we start kissing. Next thing you know, I'm getting world-class head. I take her in the room, pull out. I always kept condoms. Here's a note, fellas. It's a message. Always keep condoms in your wallet. Pull out my trusty, one that I always keep in the wallet, and I bang her out, right? Man, next thing I know, I'm literally with this girl every day for 6 months. Still was collecting the rent, but I was with her every day for 6 months, right? So I didn't even know, because of course she didn't say anything, that this heifer was married, and dude had left her to go be with his side chick, and she never mentioned anything about this dude. 6 months. So now that I'm in good and I'm enjoying myself, all of a sudden here comes this guy out of the blue. The chick that he was with basically kicked him to the curb. Now he want to come back and be with his wife. I'm like, what? Now, I'm getting the story. I'm like, oh my God. So I told her, well, you got to make a decision. You need to divorce this dude if you're trying to be with me, or, you know, go on and be with the dude. So she started throwing around the L word. And I'm like, you know me, I ain't too quick to mention that. So I didn't say it back. So she took that to mean that, you know, this is not nothing serious. So she come to me about month 7 and say, hey, well, you know, it's clear that you don't really care for me like that, so I can't afford to keep paying this rent because I don't make enough money to keep affording, you know, I just don't get the hours no more, whatever. baby dad, my husband's parents' basement. They said I could stay down there for free until I get on my feet. So I told her, okay, great. You know, and of course, you know, the look of disappointment on her face because it was all a finesse for her to just get free rent. But I wasn't falling for the finesse. So she made plans to move. So I'm like, all right, fine. So she got some friends she knew, a cousin and a couple of his buddies. And they got a U-Haul and they packed all her stuff up. And, you know, I'm in the apartment while they pack it because I'm getting ready to change the locks on the door. And I'm getting ready to put some burglar bars up to make sure nobody can get back in. So they pack up everything and the truck pulls off. She's in the truck. They're gone, right? The minute I get the locks changed and get the burglar bars put up, my phone starts ringing. Of course, it's her. I pick up the phone, like, yeah, what's up? Why you let me do that? Why you let me do that? I'm like, why I let you do what? What the fuck is you talking about? And she talking about, you know I wasn't trying to leave. Why you let me leave? I was like, hey, this was your idea. This wasn't my idea. Why would you do something that you didn't want to do? Because I was thinking that you were gonna stop me. I'm like, well, you see how it turned out. I didn't stop you. It's like, well, I really didn't want to leave. I really didn't want to leave. I really love you. Like, all right, tell you what. If you come back, if you turn around right now, y'all only been gone 20 minutes. If you turn around right now and come back, I'll accept you back. But you can't move your stuff back in this apartment. This apartment is going to be painted. I'm going to redo the floors, hardwood floors. I'm going to repaint it and put some linoleum down in the kitchen. And I'm going to rent this apartment out for more money. Because remember, she was friends with the landlord, so she was paying a reduced amount anyway. So I wanted to get more out the apartment anyway. I said, what we'll do is, since I never moved any furniture into my apartment on the side, I just had a futon in there and a TV. I said, we can move all your stuff into my place and you can move in with me. But you can't move back into your place. And I said, when we move back in, if you move back in, you don't have to worry about paying rent because I don't have to pay no rent in this apartment. But you do have to pay the cable, the gas, and the light bill, which is like, you know, less than $300. I said, so can you pay that? She said, yeah, I can pay that, and you got to contribute to the household food. And she was like, fine. So they turned it around. She came back, moved everything in back into my place, and so this where the funny part comes in. About 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I'm in there digging her out, right? Because she got to repay me for this blunder that she did, this misstep. My doorbell rang. I'm thinking like, what the fuck? Nobody even know I live here, really. You know, I'm on the second floor. All my doors, downstairs doors, the entry doors, they lock when you come in. They automatically shut and lock. So I hear the doorbell. I look out the window, and guess who it is? It's her husband. Talking about, hey man, is my wife here? I'm like, nah, bro, she ain't here. You know. So he like, well, I'm so and so, and I'm assuming you the guy that she's been, dating or whatever. You know, I just like want you to know, man, that's my wife. I want her back, and blah blah blah, and can you bow out and give me and my wife a chance to reconcile and this, that, and the other. And I told him, I say, hey, man, only thing I'm gonna tell you, bro, I feel for your situation, but time is gonna tell if she wants to be with you or not. I said, because I was with this lady for 6 months, man. I never even heard of you. You never came over. I spent the night with this woman for 6 months in a row, dude. I said, I've never heard of you, never saw you until now. So time is gonna tell what's gonna happen. So he like, all right, cool. So he left. She's standing right behind me, keep in mind, butt naked. I'm naked, she naked, with the stickers. Just stuck my head out the window. So she's like talking about, we got back in the bed, talking about, man, you know, I feel bad for him. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Right? Just only finish topping me off. I don't feel bad. You did? But when I look back at it, you know, I feel a little bit indifferent about it. But at the same time, like I said, the guy was gone for 6 months. You know, you can't leave a nice looking thick chick alone for 6 months without somebody sniffing around, you know what I mean? And quiet as it kept, he only wanted her back because now she had somebody and I was a formidable opponent. You know what I mean? I wasn't no pushover. I wasn't a chump. I wasn't a sucker. I wasn't nobody you could just scare. I wasn't nobody you could just pump. You know what I mean? So I was a formidable opponent, and that is what got him. His ego got to him, and that's why he really wanted her. He didn't want her for the fact of just wanting her. You know, he wanted her more now because she had me, or she was involved with me, I should say. So, we you know, motoring along. I got her to push for the divorce. She pushed for the divorce. She got the divorce. So, great. We stayed together about 2 years in that apartment. And then she kept badgering me. This is where I realized, like, I never should have let her move back in with me because now she got access to me. And she badgered me every day, basically, to get married. So, of course, the blue pill, that's why I say you got to be careful, fella. You go from red pill to blue pill. I truly understand what the guys mean when they say that. Because, lo and behold, blue pill style surfing, I fell victim to it and I went on and married her. So I'm thinking like, okay, we got it made. We got plenty of money. I got the building, you know, got my own place. I mean, my own business. She's just a legal secretary somewhere. It's fine. We're doing good for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Going fine, right? Then it got to the point where the building wasn't financially viable any longer because the assessments, the property taxes, assessments went up. So that was one blow. Second blow was the utilities started going up. The natural gas started going up, and the lighting for the electric bills started going up. So on all these bills, then I had my 5%, 7% vacancy rate. It got to the point where it wasn't viable anymore. So I said, okay, let me sell the building and get what I can because I got money in it. So I sold the building, and I walked away with a nice check. I walked away with about $40,000, something like that, which was great. You know what I mean? I got the building, no money down, so I walked away with $40,000 at the close. That was perfect. I stayed there, what, 4 or 5 years? Didn't have to pay any rent, so it was a beautiful thing. So, of course, now that I'm married, she's pushing me. Here's where the next level finesse game come in, and she's pushing for a house. Oh, we should get a house. 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 So me, blue pill again. All right, fine. Let's get a house. I take my $40,000. I use my connections. I run into meet a lady. She's doing a rental with a really nice house, 5-bedroom, 2 baths, 4 basement, 4 head. I'm like, oh hell yeah, and it was in a good area. So I'm like, okay. We put money down. I think I put $5,000 down. Yeah, and the mortgage. I mean, the rent payment when I rent the home. The rent was, I think, $1,000 a month. So we move into the house. Of course, we inviting everybody over, and everybody loves the house. It's a beautiful area. The house is beautiful, nice everybody at work, and, you know, the neighbors, just get to, you know, brag to everybody. Now at the same time, it ain't '08 yet, but '08 really started coming around a lot earlier. I want to say the '08 housing bubble was really crashing around 2000. Okay, they kind of kept it a secret and kept it hid all those years until '08. They just couldn't do it no more. But it was actually happening a lot earlier. So things started getting a little tough for me. You know, selling houses got tough. Getting people qualified and pre-approved got tough. I got more people with bad credit. All kind of things were just happening all at the same time. So I said to myself, like, damn, I can't sustain this house any longer. This is when I learned that houses are really money pits. That movie, The Money Pit, that's a true statement. Now, a house is a money pit. So I stepped to her, I told her, I said, hey, look, we can't maintain this house anymore. We're going to have to, like, back out of this rent-to-own contract, and we're going to have to figure something else out. So at first she was like, okay, you know, this is when I learned that women do not like to take to go down. They don't like to downgrade. They only want to keep upgrading. They want one upgrade, then after a while they want another upgrade, then another upgrade, another upgrade. If you ever downgrade, they're really on the verge of leaving you. This is when I learned this lesson. Okay, this was 2000. So we got out of the contract, and I had a friend of mine. He had a little building, and so we moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. So we went from a 5-bedroom house with 2 baths, a full attic, a full basement, to a 1-bedroom, super duper small, deluxe studio basement. Of course, she don't want to invite nobody over to this. She don't want to invite her friends over. She don't want to invite her family over. None of that. But now keep in mind, this is just a temporary thing. I'm making moves behind the scenes. So I decided, okay, selling houses is not working, but people still want to buy. Let me jump off into the condo conversion market, which was the right move, right? So I went to interview with a condo conversion company, and of course they hired me because they wanted me to head up the Southside division of their company, right? Southside is mostly predominantly black. I'm a black broker, so it makes sense. I'm like, okay, I'm on board. So what they would do is they would buy big buildings, like 28 units, 30 units, 40 units, and they would slowly convert them into they would do a condo conversion, and then I would go to the tenants, the renters, and try to convince them to stay, and we're going to transfer you over from being a renter to an owner, and we're going to do a rent-to-own contract for 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and get you approved through one of our partner banks in order to get you qualified for the condo. So perfect, right? So I go get the job. I mean, first 4 months, I must have converted like 35 people. Money just rolling, right? Now she all giddy again because she see progression again, right? So one of the buildings was far south side, out in actually far south suburbs, Lansing. So I said, okay, fine. I talked to the people. They had a really nice 2-bedroom condo. I'm like, we're gonna do a rent-to-own on our own condo. Well, that way, it's gonna be a lot more cost efficient for us to run. Okay, we're gonna be paying maybe like $700 a month, and maybe another $200 for the HOH fees. So that's something I can handle. So she's all happy because we get to move out of this little matchbox that we're in. And keep in mind, it was right there by the airport, so it was crazy. Airplanes flying by all day long. So we get the condo, right? Now she all happy again. We're able to invite people over because the place is nice, right? But at the same time, now that I'm going up, her job is kind of like phasing things out and like cutting her hours, and it's not looking viable for her because she's not making any money. So I told her, don't quit until you find another job. What does this helper do? Of course, she quits. So now she doesn't have any money. I mean, now she doesn't have any work, no money. I got to foot the bill for everything, right? It's not a problem, but at the same time, like, damn, you went against what I told you to do. So all of a sudden, her cousin, he's a male, he gets a job for the Cook County Sheriff Department, right? So he finds out that she's not working. He calls and says, hey, look, I can pull some strings and I can get you in the Sheriff Department. So she comes to me and she asks me, hey, baby, my cousin said he can get me in with the Sheriff Department. So do you think I could do that? You know, they started off with $45,000. Keep in mind, as a legal secretary, she was already making like $25,000. So, you know how when you're in the cartoons and the bubbles, like time would stop and two bubbles would pop up, dot, 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 and a big bubble, and you have like one idea. Okay, the one idea was, oh yeah, baby, you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna support you 100%. Straight red, straight blue pill thinking. Then at the same time, on the other side, a red pill popped up, and it was saying, man, if she gets in this law enforcement, chances are she's gonna flip the script on you, and things are gonna change, and y'all gonna eventually end up getting a divorce. So tell her she can't do it. She needs to stay with the same line of work, which is legal secretary. Those were the two things in my mind. You know which one I chose, right? I just did not go with the red pill philosophy. I went with blue pill. Told her she could do whatever she wants. I'm gonna back you 100%. So she told him, okay, fine. She get the application. Application like 32 pages long. Her dumb ass can't even think like a criminal. So she didn't even know how to answer half of the questions on there. But me, with my criminal mind, I help her with my answers. And of course, she gets a call for the interview. She interviews. Now she got to go to the little academy. So she got to pass push-ups, the obstacle course, and hand tests, and some more testing in the classroom. So at the time, it was Bally's, you know, the health club. They went out of business or whatever. So I took her to the Bally's. I've always worked out my whole life. Got into working out so she could pass the physical agility part, the push-ups, and the strength test. I kind of coached her along with some of the answers to kind of give her, because she grew up in the suburbs. So, you know, she don't think like no criminal. So I told her, yeah, you can go ahead and get the job, but women have a tendency of getting these jobs and turning into monsters, and it ends up ruining their marriage. She like, oh, baby, that wouldn't happen. You know, we've been, going strong for these 5 years. We haven't had any problems. Everything has been good. You've been good, right? You're happy, right? I'm like, yeah, everything's great. I'm happy with the situation. I said, but just know, I hear what you're saying, and I'm gonna have faith in you, but just know, if you flip the script on me, I'm just gonna walk out of here, plain and simple. You don't have to worry about that. You're tripping, you're paranoid, I'm not going nowhere. It's gonna be a better situation for us. You're doing good now with the real estate, and if I get this job, I'm making more money. We can start buying more buildings and doing this and doing that. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So, I paid for her weapon, her uniform, that stuff came up to like a couple $1,000. Help her with a class, help her pass to the class way out in the suburbs because she didn't know her direction. So I would take her and sit in the car while she in school. Did everything. Fellas, never invest this much stuff into a woman's nothing. Career, none of that. Never do this again. Okay, never do that. Well, I never do it again. We should never do this. Okay? A woman, if she's gonna be independent, if she's gonna do her own thing and have her own career, she needs to invest only her money. You should not invest nothing. Nothing. But I had to learn the hard way. So she gets the job, and do you know it took less than 30 days for her to come home tripping? Those 5 years we were married, we never even really had an argument. And if we did, she would apologize, and if I was wrong, I would apologize, and that would be the end of it. Do you know this is the first time in 5 years the woman ever used a cuss word toward me? And of course, I noticed it right off the back. I checked her about it, but she would not let it go. I'm like, what the hell? So I told her, if it happens again, I'm gonna forgive you, but if it happens again, it's gonna be a problem. A couple weeks went by, of course it happened again. So now we arguing. She volunteers to sleep on the couch. Volunteers to sleep on the couch. So you already know where it's headed, right? So when it came time to pay the household bills, she came to me. She's like, okay, it's time to pay the bills. You gonna give me the checks? I can mail them. I told her I wasn't paying another bill in that house. She thought I was just talking for that month. She don't know I meant for the rest of the time we in here, I'm not paying another bill because I'm gonna take my money. I'm back out of this contract that we got ourselves into. We rent the home condo, and I'm gonna go get my own place somewhere else. I'm gonna use the money that I'm making instead of paying these bills here. I'm gonna back out of the contract, right, and use the cash to go get me an apartment because I'm getting up out of here. But I ain't tell her that. I just told her I wasn't paying it. So about 45 days of her having a job, she came to me and said, maybe it's a good idea if I move out. And I told her, well, if you move out, how are we gonna try to reconcile our situation? If you move out, you know, pretty much we're gonna get a divorce, huh? She was like, well, yeah, I guess so. So I was like, you sure you wanna move out? She said, yeah. So guess what? She moved out. I changed the locks. So every day she didn't take everything. She took like most of the stuff. I changed the locks the same day she moved out. That might have been like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday she moved out. Come the weekend, I pulled out my little red book, little black book I should say, and I called my girlfriend from high school. She always kept the same number. I'll never forget it. So I called her, told her what the situation was, and she said, she left? I'm like, yeah. Is she okay? I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with the woman. All I know is she gone. So what's up? She was like, shit, you trying to have some company? I'm like, shit, it's been 5 years. Hell yeah. She came over. I'm in there smashing. Guess who knocks on the door? Big bad sheriff. She see my car outside, so I guess she's like, okay, he in there. She knocking. But she don't know I changed the lock, so she couldn't get in. So the girl in there shaking, and I'm like, look, don't worry about it. She ain't finna come here. But she's then saying to herself, like, damn, she had the police, she got a gun, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry, I ain't gonna let her in. So eventually she left, whatever. We finished doing our thing and she left. She left or whatever. So I stayed in that apartment about another 30 days. I went to the people at the place where I worked, told them that me and my wife was getting divorced. So it was no longer viable for us to go with the contract. So they understood. They let me out of it with no penalties, nothing like that, right? And basically stayed apart. Fucking like 7-8 months before we saw each other, like really saw each other again. And it was because, of course, she was broke, needed her car worked on, and she called me talking about, hey, maybe we should see each other or do something and try to talk or whatever. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I see it. I looked at it as an opportunity to get me some sex. So she invited me over to her new place. I smashed, and I was supposed to stay the whole weekend with her, but by her being still new at the job, they called her in on her off day, so she had to go in. So she was like, what you got to do today? I was like, well, I ain't got to do nothing today. I'm kind of off too. And she was like, well, you can just hang out here and be here when I come home, and then that way we can pick up where we left off. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I stayed in her house. As soon as I knew she was gone, right, I went rummaging through her closet and all her drawers. I got all her bills together, and I took out the calculator. I calculated all her bills, and I knew how much she was making. And I'm like, man, she had a deficit of about $1,000 a month. I'm like, no wonder she wanted me to come over here. She need help. Oh, okay. I see. So I put everything back. Came home from work. I was there. We talking. Did the do again. Then now here come the pillow talk. Right? Oh, my brakes is acting up on the car. Can you give me Leroy's number? Leroy was one of my little alley mechanics. All I had to do was just buy the pads and the drums or whatever we need, and then Leroy would throw them on for $40, right? So she wanted the $40 holler hookup from my boy Leroy, all right? So I told her Leroy had a heart attack and he passed away. It wasn't the truth, you know. He had a heart attack, but he didn't die. He recovered, but I just went on and added a little bit to the story. So she was like, well, do you know anybody else? I'm like, nope. I said, you're gonna have to like take it to Meineke or something like that. They probably ain't gonna charge you too much. You know, she said, okay, cool. I'll take it to Meineke tomorrow or the next day or whatever. So I leave. She took it to Meineke. She called me back. She's like, Meineke talking about charging me $600. Like, shit, you need brakes. You got a long ass travel to go to work, so you need to go on and pay it. She's like, well, hell, I ain't got $600. She said, can you give me half of it? I'm like, well, you know I'm paying all these bills over here by myself now, so you know, it's been kind of slow on the sales, so I can't really shell out no money right now.